Hold up. Wait a minute. I wish you love, peace, and hair grease.
Love, peace, and hair grease, y'all.
Yeah, you know I'm shooting straight from the hip.
This is Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Critic, and I shoot straight from the hip.
Yeah, you know I'm shooting straight from the hip.
Hi, everybody. It's your girl, Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Film Critic, and you have tuned into the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. What we do here is we talk about movies, we review them, and then we speak to people above and below the line in the film industry. If this is your first time joining us, sister, give me a big old thumbs up if you are on the YouTube, if you're on Twitter or Facebook Live or LinkedIn. Please subscribe to the channel because you never know who you might see here. Just saying. So I'm a little more casual in my little jean jacket today because it is National Relaxation Day. And I usually talk about what I did the week before, but there's so much news and reviews and things to get to that I'm going to get right into it. All righty? Don't forget to give me that big thumbs up to let me know you were here. But before we do that, let me say hello to my boy, Brandon. He's not here, as we know, the last couple of weeks. He has a job at Red Robin, and he says he can't wait for his 2D animation class next month, and he's working on his Buntastic family and can't wait for the DBZ Super. He also says the DBZ is his favorite anime and My Hero Academia, I think is what it's called. So thank you for stopping through, Brandon. Always love to see you here. So let's talk about what went down last week. Kenan Thompson has now gotten his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He's also going to be hosting the 2022 Emmy Awards, which are happening in a couple of weeks. Diane Keaton, who has a new movie coming out called Mack and Rita that we'll be talking about a little later on. She has a new film coming out. She also got her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Go ahead, Miss Keaton. And a little bit of sad news as we get into it. We lost three dear souls. We lost Olivia Newton-John, Denise Dowse, and Anne Heche. Olivia Newton-John probably succumbed to her breast cancer, which she had been an advocate for many, many years. Denise Dowse is a fabulous actress. You've seen her in Ray, you've seen her on Beverly Hills 90210, and most recently, the last season of Insecure, she played a therapist on that show as well. And Anne Heche was killed in a fiery car crash that put her into a coma, and she never really came out of it. So I want to wish all of their families the best, sending them much love and support. And turn this fan on because it's a little hot up in here. Ooh. And sending many, many thoughts and prayers to them. They were fabulous artists. They will be missed. And they were three of my favorites for sure. All right. So let's get on into it, shall we? Let's talk a little. Oh, but before we do that, I did do something really cool last week. I did a junket for xoNecole, which is a Will Packer company. And I was asked to do an interview with Idris Elba. And I was asked to do an interview with Will Packer and the two young girls, Iyanna Haley and Leah Jeffries. But I wanted to give y'all a little, I had to give you a little sneak peek. I can't show the whole interview here because xoNecole is editing it, but I did want to show you this sneak peek. This, I think it's like 17 seconds of the beginning of the interview with Idris Elba. Hey, Idris.
Hey, Carla, how are you?
I'm good. Look at you with the shades on, being all extra cool. I love it.
I love your room. I just want to be there. That looks so comfortable.
Oh, honey, I would love for you to be here, but that's a whole nother discussion. So, okay, that's a snippet, but know that we had a good time. And I'll talk about Beast a little later on in the show as well. But right now, I want to talk a little bit about Orphan Kill. So Orphan Kill is a Paramount Pictures film. It's a reboot of Orphan, which you see up on the screen before. And the young lady, Isabel Furman, played the little girl in Orphan, and then she reprises her role years later in Orphan Kill. So let's talk a little bit about it. It's starring Isabel Furman, Julia Stiles, Rossif Sutherland. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. And what happens in this film is after escaping from a psychiatric facility in Estonia, Esther, played by Isabel, travels to America by impersonating the missing daughter of a wealthy family. Yet an unexpected twist arises that pits her against a mother who will protect her family at any cost. Now, I'm going to come back onto the screen because I got some things to say about this one, honey. Because let me tell you something. This film was a nail-biting, what's the best way to say it? It was a nail-biting thriller for me from beginning to end. I did not see, I don't do horror. But this was more on the thriller side, so I could kind of hang. But I didn't see the original Orphan. But I totally bought that Isabel was a child. She's a grown woman in her 20s. But the spin on this one is that they have her being the kid, and then ultimately we find out that she really is a grown woman in her 20s. It's the costuming is brilliant. It's giving you that Lizzie Borden-ish kind of vibe. It's directed by William Brent Bell, and Julia Stiles, I said, was in it. I love this film for Julia Stiles because we see Julia Stiles do a lot of things, but we ain't never seen her do this. And I was kind of there for all of that. And I'll tell you this, for certain millennials, Orphan is gonna hold a kind of camp cachet for them because it is a little campy, but it's kind of good. It's kind of like if you saw Carrie and like some other like films in that lane, it gives you that kind of vibe. It's good. I liked it. It was cool. And I really enjoyed Isabel Furman because, honey, I was scared of her. She scared the hell out of me. But it will be in theaters, and I'll tell you when at the end of the show. Next up, I want to talk about this film that I saw at Sundance. It's called Emily the Criminal. And Emily, ooh, honey, she was doing a lot. Emily the Criminal is something that I saw at Sundance, and it's written and directed by John Patton Ford. He's a first-time director, y'all, and he put his foot in this. It's produced by Roadside Attractions for Vertical Entertainment, and it stars Aubrey Plaza, Theo Rossi, and Gina Gershon. Now, what Emily the Criminal, it's hard to say that title, isn't it? What Emily the Criminal isn't is an exploration of how she becomes a criminal. It's more like how she learns to embrace criminality in her identity as her gift and her escape from a world that's built to keep her down. Meaning, Miss Thing got $70,000 in school debt, and she's working as a caterer, and she's like, I don't know how I'm gonna make this work. So she gets offered this job where she goes in, she buys stuff on these credit cards, and and then they resell the stuff that she's bought on the credit card. It's like a credit card scam, right? Let me tell you something. Aubrey Plaza did the damn thing. But this film does ask a really tough question about the economic advancement that one has to go through in order to get out of debt in this world that we're living in, because because of technology, things have become more high priced. The cost of living has gone up. Shall we living in a world where gas is almost $7 a gallon? That don't make no sense. But back to the film. So this is the gist of the film. She's saddled with student debt. She's unable to find work. And as a college graduate, she becomes involved in the credit card scam. I said that. But she's acting as a dummy shopper and buying increasingly risky products with stolen credit cards. At one point, child, she's even trying to buy a car. I was like, girl, go ahead with your bad self. Aubrey Plaza is doing this. It's like, if you ever saw Scarface, it's like she's like this badass caterer turned Tony Montana in Scarface. That's what Emily the Criminal is. You are going to love this film. And again, at the end of the show, I will tell you what date it is going to be released and what studio is producing it. I think I said it was Roadside Attractions, though. All right, so now let's get into Miss Mack and Rita. But before we get into Mack and Rita, let me just say that I met the director, Katie Aselton, and her lovely husband, Mark Duplass, who I've interviewed for the morning show. I met them at thing at Apple TV, and we talk about that in the interview. But let me tell you a little bit about this film first. This film stars Diane Keaton, and it is directed by Katie Aselton. It stars Diane Keaton, Elizabeth Mayle, Taylor Page, Loretta Devine, Lois Smith, and Wendy Malick and Amy Hill. And what happens is when 30-year-old Mac Martin reluctantly joins a Palm Springs bachelorette trip for her best friend Carla, love the name, her inner 70-year-old gets released, literally. The frustrated writer influencer magically transforms into her future self, Aunt Rita. Freed from the constraints of other people's expectations, Rita comes into her own, becoming an unlikely social media sensation and sparking a tentative romance with Mac's adorable dog sitter, Jack. Let me tell y'all something. This film was everything because I love the fact that she was playing this influencer, so to speak, that's 70 years old. Girl, she was doing selfies, but the funniest part of that film was watching Diane Keaton in a Pilates class. She was in his Pilates class trying to get on the reformer, and I don't think anybody masters physical comedy other than Melissa McCarthy better than Diane Keaton. Diane Keaton is just so unassuming that you buy everything she does, hook, line, and sinker. And the story deals with the young lady Mac, who you feel like, who's played by Elizabeth Mayle. You feel like she is a young person with an old soul. And I know we know lots of people like that, really young people that just have these old souls and they feel like they should be in an older body. And this is like the 35th gender bending film ever. Like there's 35 films on gender bending. And when I say gender bending, I mean films like 13 Going on 30, Freaky Friday, a bunch of other ones. I can list them all, but you can look them up online, honey. But I love these kind of films because it does make you think about where you are in your life, if you've accomplished what you want, if you've done enough, if you feel like doing enough. It harkens back to all of that. So I really enjoyed this film. And then they have that little love story infusion with Jack and the dog sitter and going back in time. It's a cute film. It's really, really cute. But without further ado, I want to go ahead and play this interview for you. Ooh, sorry, wrong thing. I want to go ahead and play this interview for you with Katie. Katie and I had a good time, and I really want you guys to take a look and a listen to this interview with the director of Mack and Rita, Miss Katie Aselton. I am Carla Renata, the Curvy Film Critic. Hi, Katie.
Hey, Carla.
I think we've met before. I think I met you at an Apple TV reception with your husband, right?
You absolutely did. I remember you.
Like she was so familiar to me. I was like, why does? And so I started doing a little digging. I'm like, it's so good to see you.
We had cocktails together and probably some bit of crudité.
We truly did. Took selfies and all that. I love it. Congratulations on your film. I loved it so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So in thinking about the film, why do you think we as women in particular have an issue with embracing what is uniquely you? You know, like that thing about you that makes you quirky and unique to other people. For some reason, we don't have a tendency to embrace that. And how do you, as a mom, try to help your daughters embrace what's uniquely you about them?
I mean, look how we are as children. Look how pure and unabashedly like ourselves we are, and somehow that just gets knocked out of us from family, friends, what we see in the world. I think social media has a huge effect on the way we look at ourselves and the way we feel like we're supposed to look and we're supposed to present. And then I think it is truly with wisdom, right, that we understand and really appreciate who we are and what we offer as individuals. And I think, for Mac, I think she confuses wisdom with age. And a lot of times wisdom does come with age. But, to have that sense of self and love for who you are and acceptance of your unique traits is something that that's our work, right? That's our journey as people on this earth. And as a mother of daughters, it is imperative that we try and hold on to that for them. And I think maybe in previous generations, like that wasn't the focus. I think, you know, for our moms, it was like, let's get our girls out there and working and striving for their dreams. And like that is its own glass ceiling that they had to break for us. Right. And so like now our journey with our daughters is going to be like, no, like let's not try and shoehorn you into a mold that wasn't meant for you. You are a beautiful, unique thing. And like, let's celebrate that now and not wait until we're 70 to do that.
That part right there. The
Right.
phrase, wherever you go, there you are. What does that mean for you?
For me, that is interesting because I think like, look, our world is really a bummer right now. And I think a lot of people can look at where we are living, what our situation is. But I think really, no matter where you go, you're not going to escape you and who you are. And that is where I think the work begins. And so I think instead of looking outward, a lot of times I think we need to start on the inside.
I concur, my sister. I just want to say before we finish this conversation, you and I do have something else in common other than your husband. We're both beauty pageant girls. I did the Miss America program. You did the Miss USA program.
I did.
And that's what makes us fierce and smart and divas.
Yes.
So I just want to acknowledge that. But thank you, Katie, for giving me your time today. I so appreciate it. Give your husband a big old hug for me. And I'll see y'all having cocktails at
I'll give you this
somewhere down the line.
I'll give you this right now.
Bye, girl.
Bye.
I kind of loved Katie for doing that. Yes, the pageant wave, darling. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. The pageant wave. Oh, I loved her for that. That was hilarious. So yeah, you guys, Mack and Rita is produced by Gravitas Ventures. It is in theaters right now and directed by Miss Katie Aselton. So next up on my list is a film called Summering. It was released Friday on August 12th as well. It's directed by James Ponsoldt, and it is a Bleecker Street Films joint. Now, if you ever saw the film Stand By Me, this film is like James Ponsoldt also was the director of The Spectacular Now, but this film has lots of elements of like a female version of Stand By Me. It stars Lake Bell, Megan Mullally, Sarah Cooper, Magdalene Mills, Sam Victoria, and Grace Redfield. And it's the difference between seeing little girls have that kind of story and seeing little boys have that kind of story. And it reminds you of what it's like that very last summer as a kid that you spent and hung out with your very, very, very best friends, right? Now, I will tell you that one of the little kids, she suffers from anxiety. She's taking, medication for her anxiety. Another one has an alcoholic mom. One has a helicopter mom. And one believes in signs, herbs, and spirits, which brings me to this. So as they're on their little journey during their last summer and playing around and stuff, they end up running into a dead body in the woods. They move this dead body and then they do like a little Nancy, then they take a little detour and become four little Nancy Drews trying to figure out what is going on with this man. Why is he there? Why does he have one shoe on? What was his life like? Does he have loved ones? Which I thought was really sweet. But I will say the pacing was super, super slow for me, but I really did appreciate seeing a little girl story like this because we see them, but it doesn't, I've never seen it from this vantage point, and I appreciated that. So one of my favorite lines was one of the little girl's sisters said, "The sugar is like cocaine for 11-year-olds." I laughed out loud when she said that. But yeah, and I loved how they sang that, "Oh, Mary Mac, 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 all dressed in black, 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 with silver buttons, 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 all down her back." They were singing that little song that was like their little theme song. So I love that. So again, you guys, Bleecker Street Films, August 12th, Summering. There is another documentary. I love my docs. I love my docs. I love them, love them. There's a documentary that is out now. It is called Free Chal Soo Lee. Free Chal Soo Lee. It drops on August 17th. I actually saw this one during Sundance. It's directed by Julie Ha and Eugene Lee. Eugene Yee, sorry, excuse me, Eugene Yee. And it's the story of Charles Soo Lee, a Korean American who was falsely accused and convicted of a 1973 murder in San Francisco. After activists led a Asian American movement to free him, he was finally released 10 years later in prison. Now, this is what happened to him. After he had done a stint in juvenile hall, the 21-year-old Lee got a job outside a North Beach nude bar, right? Soliciting potential patrons. And then one night he noticed that his boss had a gun for protection. Since he never held a gun before, he asked if he could borrow it. And while fooling around with it in his apartment, the gun went off, the bullet stuck in the wall, and it accidentally, I forget how it goes, but it either accidentally hit somebody or people thought it hit somebody. But 3 witnesses picked Lee out of the lineup, despite the fact that they said they saw the Chinese man committing no crime. Lee was nowhere near the crime. Okay, yeah, so it didn't go through the wall and hit somebody. But there was a discrepancy as to where he was that night. He had corroborating witnesses. He had, the prosecutors were looking for a quick victory to combat their public perception that was soft on crime at the time. It was a mess. And I gotta tell you, I usually see these films, usually when you see these kind of films, they're oftentimes associated with Black men, Black women, Latino women, right? You never, ever, ever see a film like this dealing with someone of Asian descent. Never, never. This, I'm telling you, this one is definitively a must see. Definitively a must see. It is called Free Charles Soo Lee, and it is dropping on August 17th. That's in 2 days. Make sure that y'all check it out. It is a wonderful, wonderful film. Now, I also want to talk about this series that is airing on, before I get to, I'll talk about this first. So I want to talk about the series that's airing on Prime Video, is streaming on Prime Video right now. It's called A League of Their Own. Now, if that title sounds familiar, it is the title of a film that was directed by Penny Marshall back in the day, that starred Madonna, Rosie O'Donnell, a plethora of other people whose faces you know and love now. But now they got a whole new crew, and they're delving a little bit deeper into the storyline. They're talking about, you know, all the other problems that the All-American Girl Baseball League had to deal with, like having same-sex relationships, what it was like to be gay during that time, and people not wanting to embrace it and all of that. But I love it because one of my favorite actresses ever is in it, Miss Shantae Adams. If that face looks familiar, you've seen Shantae in a plethora of films. She played Roxanne in Roxanne. She was in A Journal for Jordan with Michael B. Jordan. She's been in so many other things, but I love her work because she just gets better and better every time she hits the screen. And I'm a huge advocate of hers, as she knows. So take a look and a listen, people, to this interview with Miss Shantae Adams from A League of Their Own on Amazon Prime Video. Shantae.
Hi, Carla.
You know I am ride or die with you and have been since the beginning. You know this, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you've been a rapper, you've been in romantic films where you've been the romantic lead, and now you are playing a queer baseball player. What is going to be next for you?
You know, I'm trying to continue to cover ground that I haven't before. And I've been lucky enough to do that thus far in my career. And I don't know what is next. I know that I want to continue to tell stories that we don't get to hear very often, because Black women are so colorful and there's so many layers and parts to us, and we deserve to have all those stories told. So who knows, but I'm down for whatever.
I know that's right. And so your mother in this project, she's a lot. A lot. But what I will say about her is that she's a mother who she wants the best for Max, and she loves her, but she's having a hard time understanding why Max won't follow the norm. How do you feel about a mother who has that ideology? Because in some ways it's very old fashioned, but it's protective all at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's Max is put in a very difficult position because she wants to be the daughter that her mother desires, but knows that that's not her deep down inside. And so she's facing this inner conflict and this inner struggle of, the most important person in your life could possibly be disappointed by the choices that you're making. But, through her hiding certain things from her, it causes a strain on their relationship. And through Tony's, need to turn Max into a miniature version of herself is also causing a strain on their relationship. And so I think throughout the season, they're trying to, there's just a lot of miscommunication between the two of them as they try to navigate the best way to get to know where both women are in their lives right now.
Cool. And then I also wanted to know, with race and sexual identity as the cornerstone of this series, how important was it for you to be a part of this narrative in 2022, post Me Too, Time's Up, BLM, and as well as it being an encouragement for the youth of today?
Very important. I'm an artist that is my advocacy is through my art, and with the projects that I choose, it's very intentional. And I think this project is so poignant. It's unfortunately relevant because all of the issues that we're facing today, these women were going through in the 1940s, just, with higher stakes. And so just to bring their stories to the forefront has been really important for us, to let the women of this generation know that they're not alone and that this is nothing new and that we just have to keep fighting and keep going, and to let them know where they come from and where that grit and that strength and that drive comes from.
Let's talk about these baseball stunts, Mama. Did you do your own stunts?
I did, but my double did as well. So we both.
I did.
Yeah. So we did them together, but they did like majority of the work.
Because I was going to ask, okay, so having said that, how did you train for this? Because you still, even though you had a stunt double, you still had to make it look like you were doing it. So what was the training that you had to do? Because did you play baseball before?
No, I have no baseball in my blood. And so
don't feel bad. I don't either.
The tip top, very beginning, like let's just toss the ball around and play catch, and kind of worked our way up from there. So we had these very intense baseball camps with Justine Siegel, who was the first woman to coach in the MLB. So they brought her in, and she brought all of her assistants, which were professional female baseball players, in to kind of coach us as well. So what was really cool about that was that we got to know and work with the modern day versions of the women that were playing. And so just getting to know them and getting to learn from them was really cool. But yeah, we had very intense baseball camps before we shot the pilot. And then a year and a half later, when we picked back up to shoot the rest of the season, we did another baseball intensive. So am I perfect? Maybe. But no, I'm kidding. I've improved. My baseball skills have improved, but we still have some ways to go before I don't need a double anymore.
So what did Shantae learn through playing Max?
I am always attracted to characters that inspire my real life. And I think Max has possibly done that the most, at least for where I am in my life right now. It's about her drive and her passion for what she loves to do, and the way that she's told no so many times, but she does not take that as a never. Like, no is just one door closing, but eventually I'm going to kick one down. Like that's
right.
Max's mentality. And I've learned that that's kind of the mentality that you have to have in this industry as well. We deal with rejection and no's a whole lot, but Absolutely. You have to understand that your time is coming, and, it may not be, you may not be able to see it right now, but it's there. You just have to keep pushing and keep going, and it's going to come.
I think that is a perfect place to stop, because I just can't ask you another question after that. That was like the perfect answer to everything. It really was. So thank you, Shantae Adams. I love her, y'all. I love her work, and she's doing some exemplary, really fine work in a league of their own. It is streaming right now on Prime Video. I think it's like 6 to 8 episodes. You are going to love it. I binged it in one sitting because one episode would end. We're like, oh, I need to find out what's going to happen. And I binged it in one sitting. I was all about it. So having said that, let's get on to the next one. The Territory. It is directed. Do I have a picture for The Territory? I don't think I do. Let me see if I do. I don't think I do though. Let's see. I didn't think I did. I don't. It is okay. Um, let's talk a little bit about Miss Territory. So, Territory is a documentary that's going to be released on August 19th. It's directed by Alex Peets for Nat Geo, and it deals with when a network seizes a Brazilian when a network of Brazilian farmers sees a protected area of the Amazon rainforest, a young indigenous leader and his mentor must fight back in defense of the land and an uncontacted group living deep within the forest. Let me tell you what's interesting to me about this particular film. Right after I watched it, the very next day, I saw an episode of United Shades of W. Kamau Bell. You know, I love him. He's the dude that directed and wrote the documentary, We Need to Talk About Cosby. And he, ironically enough, had a whole episode about indigenous people and the injustices that continually surround that particular group of people in America. They talk about Sasheen Littlefeather and how she was treated horribly during the Academy Awards, which is when she went to accept for Marlon Brando, which is now going to happen on September 17th with an apology from the Academy. There's going to be a discussion here in Los Angeles at the Academy Museum. It's called A Conversation with Sasheen Littlefeather. I would be remiss in telling you about that. Now, that little anecdote has nothing to do with this movie, but when I watched it, I immediately thought about that, and I thought about this W. Kamau Bell episode. Now, in telling the story of the Iro Iwawa people of the Amazon forest, Alex Pete in his Preets, I keep pronouncing his wrong name, Preets, and his crew have made what seems like a sincere effort to make them active participants in the film as well. Now, let me give you a little information about the Uruwawa people. They were numbered in the thousands upon first contact with the Brazilian government in 1981, but today, fewer than 200 remain. Just like that sink in, it was thousands of them, and now today, 200 remain. And the once sprawling land that they inhabited is now 7,000 square feet mile block of greenery surrounded by farmland. There was this one scene in the film where, and it's basically, it comes down to greed because people just want to take the land and build malls and condos and that kind of stuff on it. And they have no respect for the fact that indigenous people were here first and that it's their land and that they live off of the land. They live off of the buffaloes. They live off of the forest. They live off of the rivers. And people are just extremely disrespectful of that. And that is the gist of The Territory. It's going to be streaming in Nat Geo. I highly suggest y'all check it out. Beast with Idris Elba, Iana Haley, Charlton Copley, and Leah Jeffries is coming out on August 19th via Universal Pictures. Now, recently widowed Dr. Nate Daniels, played by Idris Elba, and his two teenage daughters, played by Leah Jeffries and Iana Haley, they traveled to South Africa to a game reserve managed by Martin, played by Charlton Copley. And he is an old family friend and a wildlife biologist, right? So what begins as a journey of healing for the girls because they've lost their mom turns into a fierce fight with a father protecting his girls from this lion. And it's just a whole situation. But the main thing that you're going to get when you watch Beast is you're going to see a father protecting his girls and protecting his life by any means necessary. This rung a bell for a few reasons. You know, earlier this year with the Oscars, when Will Smith gave his speech after the incident, he spoke very passionately and about fiercely protecting the women in his life. So immediately when I saw this happening in this film, my mind went back to that moment and how Black men have this incessant need to protect their women and to cherish them and treat them like queens. So I got that. They have the CG lion that I got to tell y'all, he looked real. I was jumping and screaming and talking to the screen. I was like, what is happening right now? Idris has some stunts that are freaking insane. They are insanely and intricately choreographed. And we talk about that when I spoke with him for xoNecole. So if you hop over to xoNecole's site later on this week, you will see excerpts of that interview that I did for them on their behalf with Idris Elba and Will Packer and the girls. But I'm going to warn you that one thing that you won't going to walk away from this film with is that there are you know how you have kids and there's always that one kid, no matter what you tell them, they always got some mouth and they never do what you say. Iyanla Haley is that kid in this movie. Baby, I want to snatch up in that screen and tie a knot in her little behind, which makes me feel like she did her job because her performance literally incited a visceral reaction where I wanted to kill her. But she was great. Pulse is a pulse-throbbing, stopping drama with heart that will leave you breathless, turning Idris Elba into the real king of the jungle. Again, Beast, directed by Baltazar Komakar, produced by Universal Pictures on August 19th. Now, I said I was going to do Dragon Ball Superhero, but I had some problems with the link and I wasn't able to watch it. But I am going to watch it and I am going to review it, and it should be up on my site in a couple of days. Having said that, any film that I talk about here, there is a written version on my site, thecurvyfilmcritic.com. And curvy is spelled C-U-R-V-Y. I've seen people spell it C-U-R-V-E-Y. There is no E. It's the T-H-E, curvy, C-U-R-V-Y, filmcritic.com. Written versions of my reviews of the films are always there. All of the interviews always live on YouTube in a playlist called One-on-Ones, or they live in a playlist for the Curvy Film Critic with Carla Renata. Next week, what is next week's date? Let's see what it is, y'all. Next week's date is August 22nd. On August 22nd, I'm going to actually have Brooke Obi from xoNecole Live. She's going to be here talking to me, and we are going to deconstruct Nope. We're going to deconstruct Nope. I'm going to open up the lines. It's going to be live. I'm going to promote it all week long. So if you want to join the chat room and you got something to say, let a sister know that you're here, because I would love to talk to you and I'd love to see you. I'm also, before I get to Brooke, I'm going to talk about 3,000 Years Along, and we just going to keep this Idris Elba love going for another week with him and Tilda Swinton in 3,000 Years of Longing. I'm going to do a brief review of Prey, Day Shift, and I have 2 interviews with the stars of Look Both Ways, which will be streaming on Netflix. So thanks for joining me for this episode of The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. I am your host, Carla Renata. Thank you so much for popping in. If this is your first time joining me, give me a big thumbs up if you are on YouTube to let me know you were here. If you are on Twitter, if you are on Facebook Live, if you are on LinkedIn, please subscribe to the channel and show your girl some love and show your girl some support. I got some really exciting things coming up that I can't talk about right now, but I will be able to share them with you soon. I'm really looking forward to sharing it with you soon, but I really can't say nothing right now. And I know y'all hate when people do that. I hate when they do it too. It's like, well, why are you telling me if you can't say what it is? But I just want y'all to be on the lookout for something really exciting happening. So having said all of that, be safe, wash them hands, wear a mask if you feel the need to, because baby, COVID is still out there, and now we got this monkeypox. Like, it's like, come on, can we just live a life? Can we just get on with the process of living? And yeah, and join me next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Now, I will tell you that going into September, I'm going to switch back to Sundays. I only did Monday nights because my producer wasn't able to do Sundays, and she has moved on. I loved Max, and she has moved on because she got a real job, paying real money. Can't be mad at a sister for that. So I've been navigating these waters alone. And I'm going to switch it back to Sundays because that's actually a better night for me. And it's better for everybody else too because it's on the weekend. But having said that, be safe, take care, and I'll see you next week. Okay? So deuces, love, peace, and hair grease. Until the next time, baby.